Namaskar. This is lecture 9, part 1 in respect of business or profession. As you are aware, there are 5 heads of income: salary, house property, profits and gains of business or profession, popularly known as business income, capital gains, and income from other sources. Sections 28 to 44 deal with the determination of income under the head business. This head is named as profits and gains of business or profession. It is profits and gains of business or profession. At the outset, I should tell you that this is a very litigated head of income. If my understanding is correct and my memory doesn't fail me, about 50% of the litigation in income tax would deal with this head of income. More than that, in fact. The head, profits and gains of business or profession. As I have been discussing with you, that each head of income has its own conditions, criterion, stipulations to bring an income to tax under that head. So is the criterion or the stipulation even under this head. Earlier we have discussed definitions where we did this definition of business. Section 2, clause 13 deals with business. Such a small, unassuming, simple definition as it is. I will read from the text, section 2, clause 13. Business includes, as I have told you, each word is important in income tax, or for that matter in any legal study. Business includes. This means this is an inclusive definition. What is written here, trade, commerce or manufacture, is only to make you understand and explain as to what can come in business. That's not the entire list of inclusion in business. They are merely illustrating as to what can be included in business. Business includes any trade which is not defined in this act. Commerce again is not defined in this act. Or manufacture, which also is not defined in this act. So business includes any trade, commerce or manufacture, or any adventure or concern in the nature of trade, commerce or manufacture. Such a simple definition. Adventure or concern in the nature of trade, commerce or manufacture. It is important to note, we have discussed this earlier, that adventure or concern in the nature of trade, commerce or manufacture refers to non-repetitive transaction which has the characteristics of trade or commerce or manufacture and therefore classifies to be a business transaction. When I say non-repetitive, you may even understand a non-repetitive transaction as a singular transaction also, or maybe occasional, or maybe periodic, or maybe seasonal transaction. Now this is the season of mangoes. Now you may have mango farms in your native place, so you may be stationed for 3 months or so in your native place and send mangoes for sale in the city. After rainy season, you will stop your activities because you will have no mangoes. A seasonal activity. You don't continue that activity throughout the year. If you want, you can also continue sale of mangoes even in the month of, let us say, December. There are countries, for example Mauritius, which has mangoes growing in December. Nothing stops you from importing mangoes from Mauritius in the month of December and selling in Bombay, and selling in India. That is okay. But you don't do that. Continuity in a trade, activity of trade, commerce or manufacture is not expected, is not desired to qualify that the activity is a business activity. Singular transaction also, which has the characteristic of trade, commerce or manufacture. I did not define these terms to you, students of commerce. You understand the meaning of these terms as you have been understanding hitherto. I don't intend to go into the technical details. Your syllabus doesn't warrant it. But I will give you a brief idea later. An activity of trade, commerce or manufacture, even if it is a singular activity in a year or a periodic activity undertaken periodically in a year, or seasonal activity in a year, but if the activity is in the nature of trade, commerce or manufacture, it will qualify to be a business activity. And the gain from sale, profit or gain or loss from sale, from these business activities of trade, commerce, manufacture will qualify to be a business income. This adventure or concern in the nature of trade, as I told you, refers to non-repetitive, singular, seasonal. Trade, as you know, essentially means purchase and also sale. Commerce is a larger connotation, which will include trade and all activities in the nature of which are commercial in nature. For example, you may be into some kind of a rendering of some kind of services, courier service for example, transport service for example. These are all services, but they are essentially commercial in nature. You may charge fees for those services. Those services also qualify to be business, income falling under the head profits and gains of business or profession. Manufacture, converting of raw material into finished products. Excise has a detailed excise law when it was existing. Now GST has a detailed explanation, detailed section on manufacture, as to what is manufacture and how manufacture has to be construed for the purpose of excise. Of course, that is the definition in excise. You cannot import that definition given in excise when you are understanding manufacture for the purpose of business, though it may have a lot of persuasive value. What is given as the meaning of manufacture in excise law will be persuasive enough. More particularly, manufacture is not defined here and they haven't stated. It would have been very easy for them to state कि manufacture means manufacture as defined under the excise law. That they are not doing. So therefore you cannot import the meaning of excise, meaning of manufacture appearing in excise law in income tax law. Please understand, while defining a company, they have clearly stated companies registered under the Indian Companies Act. So they are referring to companies which are registered under the Companies Act, domestic companies. Nothing stops them from saying that manufacture for the purpose of sections 28 to 44 business income should mean manufacture in accordance with the excise law. So since they haven't stated that, please don't import. Though both are central legislation now, GST has been, excise has been subsumed in GST. You don't have excise law now. So nothing stops them from saying manufacture means manufacture as defined in the excise law or the GST law. That they are not doing, or in the sales tax law, VAT law, as when it was existing earlier. So don't import. It may have a persuasive value. You may take the meaning, you may take the activity of manufacture there and state that this is manufacture for the purposes of business income also. Fair enough. But not all cases will fall under that. Let me discuss a very old judgment of Supreme Court, State of Punjab versus Bajaj Electricals Limited, where they said trade, it is defining trade, would mean exchange of goods for goods, barter, as you know, exchange of goods for goods, barter system, or goods for money. You purchase the goods, pay money, or sell the goods, get money, get cash. Now money here is not defined. It can mean cash, it can mean check, it can mean through bank transactions also. It's not defined. This is the primary meaning. And the secondary meaning, they say, is the repeated activity of business carried with a profit motive. This is important. Supreme Court has said there has to be a profit motive for an activity to qualify a business activity. It has to have a profit motive. It goes without saying, though this is not included, profit motive is not included in the section. It doesn't say कि business would include only those activities which have profit as a motive or profit as an intention. They haven't said that. But let me also ask you, have you ever come across a person doing activity of trade, commerce or manufacture, a business activity, for the purposes of making a loss or with an intention of making a loss? No. You don't enter into an activity of trade, commerce or manufacture, which is a business activity, with an intention to make a loss. You always have profit as a motive. You should also know that even charitable institutions, they don't have a profit motive, but they don't have loss as an intention. They may expend the entire money that they have got in a year, or they may take a loan and give donations or carry out charitable activities, but that is a loan taken. There is an element of repayment necessary in a loan. So activity with a profit motive is a business activity. Business and profit go hand in hand. They merge, they gel, they flow from each other. Profit and business, business and profit flow from each other. So that is incumbent, that is attendant. Profit motive is attendant, incumbent, necessary aspect of business. It further says the activity being manual or mercantile. It may be manual or mercantile. As distinguished from means different from, as different from literal arts, learned professions or agriculture. Agriculture, you are aware. Learned professions meaning those professions where educational qualification becomes necessary for engaging in a profession. But tomorrow you may start your own, having completed, let us say, BCom, you complete MCom or maybe law, which is a better field today. If you have to ask me, better than MCom is law field. Let me put the facts as they are. So you may complete MCom, start a profession in accountancy. You may do CA and start practicing as a CA, or you may complete CS and start practicing as a company secretary. They are learned professions. Degree, years of efforts go into that kind of a profession. Literal arts, maybe you will be into maybe coaching people for sports activities or for some kind of a cultural activity, say dance, say singing. These are not activities which are business activity, but they are in the nature of a commercial activity. So being a commercial activity, it will certainly classify to be a business activity. Now here there are profits and gains of business or profession. So then the issue will be, if you are engaging into a profession, the income will be still business, the head will be still business income, but it will be income from profession, because the head is profits and gains of business or profession. It is popularly known as business income, but it includes profession also. So those engaging in literal arts as a profession, a vocation, that profession includes vocation. So that will also be considered to be income falling under the head profits and gains of business or profession, popularly known as business income. Though the activity may be a professional activity which you may be practicing as a CA, you may be practicing maybe as a company secretary or as a lawyer or as an accounts consultancy in some kind of accounts related job, specialized consultancy. These are all professional activities, but the head would still be the profits and gains of business or profession, popularly known as business income. Adventure or concern in the nature of trade, as it was discussed in CIT versus Meenal Ramesh Chandran. Venture includes or connotes chance plus a risk. Chance, fluke, possibility, speculation, these are all meaning of chance. Plus the risk, attendant risk, whether you may make a profit or not make a profit. So chance, venture would include instances, adventure that we were referring to, a singular activity, or let me give you an illustration of venture. You are students of commerce, so you know in class 12th, I think, or in 11th possibly, you had joint venture accounts, more like partnership accounts. So the activity of joint venture is distinguishable, is different from partnership. Partnership is at will, as you are aware. Joint venture is for the purpose of the venture, purpose of the activity for which you have come together for. Venture is over, activity is completed, joint venture comes to an end. You may enter into a joint venture with your friend to, let us say, complete the repair of a bridge. For example, the government has told you this is the bridge, we please repair it in, maybe it has given you 2 months time. You say okay. After that, you don't intend to do that activity, you don't have any other work available, any other business available in your on this line, on this account. So you say okay. So you say okay, you come together, you and your friend come together and you undertake that venture. Venture is over, your activities come to an end. There is an element of chance plus the risk. The same element of chance and risk exists in all business activities. So, any income flowing from a venture would classify to be an activity of trade, commerce, or manufacture and would therefore fall under the head business. Even an isolated transaction can satisfy the description of adventure in the nature of trade, as we discussed earlier some time back. Isolated, singular, non-repetitive transaction which satisfies the conditions of trade, commerce, or manufacture would be considered to be an adventure in the nature of trade, income from which would fall under the head profits and gains of business or profession. The section 28 is the charging section, which includes several instances, several examples of income. Section 28, as I told you, any head of income would have 2 categories of sections. One is the charging section in business income. Section 28 is the charging section, and also the machinery provision, computational provisions. Charging section gives you the instances, examples of which examples of the incomes which will fall under this header. Profits and gains of any business or profession which was carried on by the assessee at any time during the previous year. So this section itself says that there is no continuity necessary at any time during the previous year. If we are entering into any activity of business or profession, the profits or gains derived from such business or profession would be chargeable under this head. I will take you through the section 28 before I discuss still more complex and interesting issues. These will be necessary to make you understand what I will discuss later. I'll go slow. Profits on sale of a license. Now you are aware that you may be an importer. But being an importer, you will be purchasing from a foreign country. Now when you purchase from a foreign country, you will be required to make payments in foreign exchange. Now you may also be exporting. So when you export, the government gives you several incentives. When you are an exporter, the government gives you several incentives. License is one incentive. Cash assistance is another incentive. Duty drawback, customs or excise duty, is another incentive. I will explain each of them. These are largely available, incentives are largely available to an exporter. When you export, the government tells you, fine, when you are exporting, you are getting foreign exchange for the country. So the government tells you, we will give you license to import. Now you may not be importing really. You may only be exporting locally sourced, domestically sourced goods. You export. But then the government gives you an incentive. It tells you, okay, I am giving you a license to import. You say, fine. Now, since you don't need that license you don't need the license to import because you don't import. So what will you do? Sell that license. Simple as that. When you are having a license granted by the government to you based on your exports, and if you don't really want to import any goods, you sell that license. So the profits on sale of license is what is chargeable to tax as business income. Profits are mere profits. Profits, as students of accounts, you know, sale minus cost is the profit. Another incentive to an exporter is cash assistance. The government says, okay, export market is very competitive. You have to bear the competition from China, from Brazil, from Mexico, from Taiwan, in an international market, Japan. You have to bear the competition, face the competition. That becomes difficult. So you cannot charge your regular price. You have to keep your margins lower, wafer thin margins, as I am aware in our clients' cases. Exporters among our clients, or for that matter, even all other exporters, have a wafer thin margin, wafer thin, less margin, because then they will not be able to compete with in the international market. So they charge very less profit, or they may suffer a nominal loss. Here the government comes to the rescue. The government says, fine, you are exporting, getting dollars for the country, foreign exchange for the country. I will give you, based on your sale, based on your exports, I will give you 3%, 4%, 5% as cash incentive. What is the sale? 10 lakhs. 5% I will give you, or 2% I will give you as incentive. Cash assistance. That is a part of your income received from the government. GOI is Government of India. Likewise, when you are exporting, you may have imported certain products and paid customs duty. Those goods which you have imported, you are manufacturing. You are importing raw material, manufacturing finished goods. So you pay customs duty on the raw material imported. So that customs duty which you pay, you have to firstly pay to the government. That custom duty which you pay, upon the export of the finished product, you will get it back, drawback. You will get that customs duty back. That is, that receipt from the government is chargeable to tax as business income. Exactly similar is the excise duty. You have purchased the product from a manufacturer in India. He has charged you excise. You have to pay him excise. He will deposit the excise with the government. So now you export those goods. So when you export those goods, the government tells you, fine, whatever excise duty element you have paid on the local to the local manufacturer, domestically obtained goods, we will give it back to you. Another incentive of exports. I think I will finish this lecture here, and I will give you another. I will record another lecture because uploading becomes difficult. Thank you.